This story has been 2 years in the making. I spent 24 months developing a game that is now featured at Steam Next Fest 26, and the last 50 hours polishing it for you to judge. My secret weapon is sound design and music. Here's how it was made, and why audio is one of the most important aspects of psychological horror games. In January 2024, I set out to make my own video game, but I didn't know what the gameplay mechanics should be, so I started thinking about what games I already liked and could use as inspiration. Back when I was in high school, I really liked the simplistic mechanics and addictive gameplay of 60 seconds. Every day you have to decide who gets to eat, who gets to drink, and who has to go on an expedition to find more resources. Each day has a chance of random events happening, like survivors knocking on the door of your bunker. That was the first point of reference for my game. In terms of atmosphere, I was really inspired by the 2016 game called The Bunker. Basically, it's an interactive psychological horror movie about a guy named John. He was born in a bunker, but one day everything went south. It's an interesting hidden gem, so if you haven't played it, I suggest looking into it. That game became the reference point for the atmosphere in my game. Now let's talk about the sound design and music. When I started composing ambient tracks for the game's expedition events, I kept falling back into the habit of finishing the musical thought I built from years of making EDM. In other words, giving the player resolution. In almost every other genre, that's the right thing to do, but in horror, music resolution becomes your enemy. The tension in a horror game has to stay unresolved, a chord that sounds out of place, a melody that never gives you the resolution you were hoping to get. Basically, you want to give the player just enough resolution to keep them interested, but keep just enough tension to keep them on edge. This is one of 10 ambient tracks I made for the expedition mechanic. It never really ends. The endless discomfort is the whole point. If you're just starting out in video game scoring and have a horror project on your hands, I'd recommend checking out Hvll. They have high quality libraries for almost any need, and they fit horror quite nicely. Anyway, to keep the tension high, I realized that I had to make the player feel unsafe even in a safe house. I turned to Silent Hill to study how they use silence and did something similar. In Silent Hill, almost everything you hear is on the streets. The soundtracks, monsters, everything. But once you step inside a building, silence takes over. That contrast is very disorienting and unsettling, and I applied something similar to my own game. The world outside the safe house is where you hear all the music, gunshots, and ambient sounds. That makes you feel that the safe house is genuinely safe, because all you hear is the hum of the fluorescent lights, your generator, and a radio. Nothing scary, really, and subconsciously you learn the rule that you're safe here. And then I break that rule. Imagine you're thinking about what to upgrade or fix next in your safe house when all of a sudden the generator gives in, a siren goes off, the lights cut out, and now a place that you considered safe can be the very same place that will kill you. Moments like that only work when you're used to the sound of safety. If the safe house had been filled with ambient music the whole time, the player would have nothing to lose. In horror games, it's not enough to make 10 ambient tracks and loop them throughout the game, because once again, horror lives in contrast. But music doesn't always take the lead, because honestly, most of the time it's a supporting actor. Its job is to support what's already on the screen, not to fight it. So for the cutscenes, I decided to intentionally leave empty, silent moments to punctuate the important words and phrases. It sounds obvious when I say it out loud, but at times, silence can feel like failure. He asked you for something. He asked you to end his misery, because he was infected. But can you do it? Is there a cure? Is there ever gonna be one? And even so, will he last long enough to get it? The choice is yours. In terms of visuals, the inspiration was a mix of Max Payne and As Dusk Falls. Making the cutscenes was very fun. I record the video of myself posing and then use this video to find the perfect still frames to use in my cutscenes. Here is a picture of me recording that footage at midnight. As a solo developer, you don't usually have a big budget, so you have to get creative. Now, I saved the best for last. This is the one I'm most proud of. There's a radio in the safe house playing the main theme, and most of the time the players won't pay much attention to it, but it's actually one of the most interesting parts of the game's audio. You see, every questionable decision you make and the number of times you die are actually tracked, and as that variable changes, so does the main theme playing on the radio. The more you mess up, the more muffled and generally wrong the theme starts sounding. For example, some instruments start playing an octave lower, while others disappear entirely, but it happens so gradually that you don't even notice it consciously, until one moment you think, was it always like that? That's what I love about scoring games. You can communicate something to the player that they will never understand consciously, but at the same time, they will 100% feel it. As for the technical implementation, there are two ways to do this. First, and the most sane method, is to use Fmod. It's a tool that lets you manipulate audio dynamically based on whatever is happening in the game. It's called adaptive scoring, and it's also what makes the music in Doom feel the way it does, which is the subject of my next video. Anyway, after weeks of crunching and the final 50 hours of polishing the demo, I submitted my game for Steam Next Fest and pushed the build to Steam. Did you know that games are pushed to Steam using CMD? Because I didn't. That was quite a surprise. Anyway, now that the demo is live, I can exhale at least for a little while. It was an incredibly difficult but rewarding experience. Trying myself as a game developer and not just as a composer made me appreciate the difficulty that goes into making video games. You can check out the demo on Steam through the link below and in the description. My name is Hvll, and as always, stay awesome and keep making this world a better place.